Dr. Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished checking the last specimen tank. The research station hummed quietly around him, its lights casting long shadows across the laboratory. Outside, the twin moons of Kepler 442b hung low in the purple sky, their pale light filtering through the reinforced windows. Marcus had been alone on this frontier world for 6 months now. The Terran Science Council sent him here to study the strange plants and animals that lived in this planet's forests. Most humans preferred the busy cities of Earth or the mining colonies closer to home. But Marcus loved the quiet. He could focus on his work without distractions. He walked over to his desk and opened his daily report. The computer screen glowed blue in the dim light. Today he had discovered something amazing. A type of moss that seemed to help wounded animals heal faster. He made notes about how the moss worked with the animals instead of against them. Everything on this planet seemed to work together in ways he had never seen before. Marcus did not know that death was hunting him. 300 miles away, hidden in the dense forest, Zixthara crouched on a high branch. Her scales shifted color to match the dark bark around her. She was a Keth Mori, one of the most feared hunters in the galaxy. Her people were tall and strong, with sharp claws and skin that could change color like a chameleon. They had ruled their part of space for thousands of years. Zixthara had been tracking the human scientist for 27 days. She knew his daily routine better than he knew it himself. She knew he woke at sunrise, checked his experiments first, then ate a simple breakfast while reading reports from other human colonies. She knew he talked to himself while he worked, and that he was always gentle with the small creatures he studied. The Dominion Council had hired her to kill him. They told her that humans were dangerous. They said humans spread too fast across the galaxy, taking planets that belonged to older, wiser species. The Council feared that if humans continued to grow stronger, they would try to conquer everyone else. Zixthara touched the payment chip in her belt pouch. This job would earn her enough credits to buy a new ship and retire from hunting. She could return to her homeworld and live in honor. All she had to do was kill one soft human who spent his days playing with plants. But first, she had to reach his station alive. 3 days ago, human patrol ships had found her hiding place. She barely escaped, but not without cost. Plasma fire had burned through her left side, leaving a wound that would not stop bleeding. Her natural healing was too slow, and she had no medicine with her. Zixthara pressed her clawed hand against the injury. The pain made her scales flicker between colors. She was weak, but she could not give up now. The human was so close. She would complete this mission, then find a medical station to heal properly. She dropped silently from branch to branch, moving toward the research station's lights. The building was small and simple, nothing like the great fortress cities of her people. Humans built everything so lightly, as if they never expected attacks. It would be easy to break inside. The station sat in a clearing surrounded by the strange blue trees that grew everywhere on this planet. Marcus had chosen this spot because it was far from any human settlements. He wanted to study nature without disturbing it. He never thought his isolation would make him the perfect target. Zixthara studied the building through her scope. She could see Marcus inside, bent over his work table. He looked younger than she expected, with dark hair and kind eyes behind his glasses. He wore a simple white coat covered in stains from his experiments. No weapons, no guards, no challenge at all. She checked her equipment one final time. Her energy blade was fully charged. Her stealth suit would hide her from the station's basic sensors. Her boots would make no sound on the metal floors. She had done this hundreds of times before. But as Zixthara moved closer to the station, something felt wrong. The wound in her side burned like fire. Her vision kept blurring at the edges. She had lost more blood than she thought. Her proud Keth Mori strength was failing her at the worst possible time. She reached the station's outer door and placed her claws on the lock. The cheap human security system broke easily under her touch. The door slid open, with a soft hiss. Cool air flowed out, carrying the scent of chemicals and growing things. Thara stepped inside and immediately felt dizzy. She grabbed the wall to keep from falling. Her scales flickered wildly as her body fought to stay conscious. She could not be weak now. Not when victory was so close. She forced herself to move forward through the narrow hallway. Her breathing came in short gasps. Each step sent fresh pain through her wounded side. Behind one of the doors, she could hear Marcus humming softly to himself as he worked. Thara drew her energy blade. The weapon hummed to life, casting purple light on the walls. She would make this quick and clean. One strike, and her mission would be complete. Then, she could find help for her wounds. She reached the laboratory door and pushed it open. Inside, Marcus looked up from his microscope with surprise. For a moment, they stared at each other across the room. The human scientist and the alien assassin. The hunter and her prey. Then Thara's strength finally gave out. The energy blade fell from her claws as she collapsed to the floor, her blue blood spreading across the clean white tiles. Marcus stared at the alien bleeding on his laboratory floor. She was tall, maybe 7 feet, with scales that shifted from deep blue to silver as she breathed. Her clawed hands pressed against a wound in her side where blue blood seeped between her fingers. An energy weapon lay beside her, still glowing with deadly power. Anyone else might have run or called for help or grabbed the emergency pistol from the supply closet. But Marcus was a doctor before he was a scientist. He had taken an oath long ago to help any living thing that suffered. "You're hurt," he said softly, setting down his microscope. "Let me help you." Thara's eyes snapped open. They were large and golden, like a cat's eyes, and filled with confusion. She had expected the human to scream or beg for his life. She had not expected kindness. She tried to reach for her weapon, but her arm would not obey. Too much blood loss. Too much pain. Her vision blurred as she fought to stay awake. "Don't move," Marcus said, walking slowly toward her. He kept his hands where she could see them, moving like he was approaching a wounded animal. "You've lost a lot of blood. If you keep fighting, you'll die." "Good," Thara whispered in her own language, then switched to broken human speech. "Better than failure." Marcus knelt beside her, careful not to touch the energy blade. Up close, he could see that her scales were beautiful, each one catching the light like a jewel. But they were also pale from blood loss, and some were cracked from pain. "What's your name?" he asked, pulling a medical kit from under his work table. "Thara," she answered without thinking. Then her eyes widened. She should not have told him that. Names had power among her people. "I'm Marcus," he said, opening the kit. She tried to pull away, but she was too weak. Her scales flickered rapidly between colors. Blue, silver, dark green. Marcus had studied enough alien biology to know that meant she was scared and confused. "Why?" she asked as he gently moved her hands away from the wound. "Why? Help? Enemy?" Marcus looked at the plasma burn on her side. It was deep and infected, probably several days old. Without treatment, she would die within hours. He began cleaning the wound with antiseptic, working as gently as he could. "You're not my enemy," he said. "You're a person who needs help. I came to kill you," Thara said, watching his face for fear or anger. She saw neither. "I figured that out," Marcus replied, applying healing gel to the burn. "But you're hurt now, and I'm a doctor. That's what matters." This made no sense to Thara. In her culture, enemies killed enemies. The strong ruled the weak. There was no middle ground. No mercy for those who came with weapons drawn. Yet this human was saving her life after she had tried to take his. "Your people," They told me you were dangerous, she said, as Marcus wrapped bandages around her waist. Dangerous how? Marcus asked, helping her sit up against the wall. They said, humans take everything. Conquer everything. Like plague across galaxy. Marcus was quiet for a moment. He finished securing the bandages, then sat back on his heels. Do I look like I'm conquering anything? Zixthara looked around the laboratory. She saw tanks full of plants, microscopes, computers filled with research notes. She saw pictures of Earth animals on the walls, and books about healing and biology. She did not see weapons or battle plans, or maps of worlds to invade. What do you do here? She asked. I study how different living things help each other, Marcus said. He stood up and walked to one of his specimen tanks. See this moss? It grows on tree bark, but it doesn't hurt the tree. Instead, it makes medicine that helps wounded animals heal faster. He pointed to another tank where small, glowing fish swam in circles. These fish eat parasites off larger fish. The big fish stay healthy, and the small fish get food. Everyone wins. Zixthara had never heard of such things. On her world, the strong ate the weak. Plants competed for soil and light. Animals fought for territory and mates. Life was war, and war was life. But the weak ones die, she said. That is nature. Sometimes, Marcus agreed. But sometimes, the weak ones have something the strong ones need. Sometimes, helping each other makes everyone stronger. He brought her a cup of water and some human food bars. The water was clean and cool. The food was strange, but not unpleasant. As Zixthara ate, Marcus continued talking about his work. My parents were refugees, he said. They fled Earth during the corporate wars when I was young. We had nothing, and we were weak. But people helped us anyway. They gave us food, shelter, a chance to start over. Why? Zixthara asked. Because it was the right thing to do, Marcus said simply. Because someone's worth isn't measured by how strong they are or what they can give you. It's measured by the fact that they're alive and thinking and feeling. Zixthara stared at him. This human spoke of concepts that had no words in her language. Her people respected strength, honor, and victory. They did not speak of worth that came from simply existing. Over the next few hours, as her strength slowly returned, she watched Marcus work. He was gentle with every creature he studied. He spoke to his plants as if they could understand him. When he found a small injured bird outside, he brought it in and cared for it until it could fly again. You are very strange, Zixthara said as evening fell. Marcus smiled. I get that a lot. Your people, are they all like you? Some are. Some aren't, Marcus said honestly. Humans aren't perfect. We fight sometimes. We make mistakes. But most of us try to be better than we were yesterday. As night settled over the research station, Zixthara found herself thinking about things she had never questioned before. She thought about the Dominion Council and their fear of humans. She thought about her own people's pride in their strength and their contempt for weakness. She thought about the human who had saved her life when he should have let her die. Tomorrow, she said quietly, when I am strong enough, I will leave. Where will you go? Marcus asked. Zixthara did not answer. She did not know anymore. Her mission was supposed to be simple. Kill the human and return home. But nothing was simple now. Everything she thought she knew about humans was wrong. As Marcus prepared a sleeping area for her, Zixthara wondered if everything she thought she knew about herself was wrong too. 3 days passed, and Zixthara's wound healed well under Marcus's care. Her scales had returned to their normal deep blue color, and she could move without pain. She should have left by now. Should have completed her mission or abandoned it. Instead, she stayed and watched. Marcus woke every morning before sunrise and checked on his experiments first. Not because he was paid to do it, but because he cared about the small lives in his care. When one of his moss samples started dying, she saw him work for hours trying to save it. He looked sad when it finally withered away. "Why does it matter?" she asked him. "It was just a plant." "Every life teaches us something," Marcus said, carefully removing the dead moss. "Even in dying, it showed me what this species needs to survive. That knowledge might help me save others like it." This puzzled Zixthara. On her world, the Kethmori were taught that only the strong mattered. The weak existed to serve the strong, or to die trying. But Marcus seemed to think every living thing had value, no matter how small or fragile. She began to tell him about her own people, at first just sharing basic facts. She described the great crystal cities of her homeworld, built into the sides of towering mountains. She told him about the warrior schools where young Kethmori learned to fight and hunt. "What was your childhood like?" Marcus asked one evening as they shared dinner. Zixthara thought for a moment. "Hard," she said. "I was trained to be a hunter from age 5. Every day was combat practice, weapons training, survival tests. The weak children were sent away." "Adam, sent where?" "To work in the mines or factories, to serve the strong ones." Zixthara paused. "I was lucky. I was fast and clever. I survived." Marcus frowned. "That sounds awful. What about play? Friends? Learning things just because they're interesting?" "Warriors do not play," Zixthara said automatically. Then she stopped. "I did like to watch the small lizards in the training grounds. They were quick and colorful. The instructors said it was a waste of time." "It wasn't a waste," Marcus said. "Observation skills probably made you a better hunter." The idea that her childhood interest in small creatures might have been valuable was new to Zixthara. She had been punished for watching lizards instead of practicing with weapons. Her instructors called it weakness. Over the days that followed, Marcus shared stories from his own life. He told her about Earth, where children went to schools to learn about art and science and history. He described games and festivals, books written just for entertainment, people who spent their lives making beautiful things instead of deadly ones. "But how do you defend yourselves?" Zixthara asked. "If your people are soft, who protects them?" "We're not soft," Marcus said. "We can fight when we have to, but we'd rather build than destroy. We'd rather make friends than enemies." "Friends." Zixthara repeated the word carefully. It existed in her language, but was rarely used. "Warriors had allies and rivals, not friends." "Is that what we are?" she asked suddenly. Marcus smiled. "I'd like to think so." That night, Zixthara lay awake thinking about friendship. In her culture, relationships were about power. Who was stronger? Who owed debts to whom? Who could be trusted in battle? But Marcus had saved her life, asking for nothing in return. He shared his food and his time simply because he enjoyed her company. The next morning, she watched him care for a family of small flying creatures that had built a nest near the station. The mother had been injured in a storm, and Marcus fed her by hand while her young ones waited in the nest. "In my culture," Zixthara said, "the injured one would be abandoned. The strong would take her territory and her offspring. That seems wasteful," Marcus said, offering the injured creature another piece of fruit. "She knows where the best food grows, the safest places to sleep. That knowledge dies with her if you let her die. Knowledge can be taken by force." "Some knowledge," Marcus agreed. "But not trust. Not cooperation. You can't force someone to work with you willingly." Zixthara thought about this as she watched the small creature eat from Marcus's hand. The animal was not afraid of him, even though he was much larger and stronger. It somehow knew he would not hurt it. "The Dominion Council said your people are expanding too fast," she said, "taking too many worlds." "We're growing, yes," Marcus said. But we're not taking anything. Most of the worlds we settle are empty, or we share them with species that are already there. Share? This was another concept that had no real equivalent in Kethmori culture. Like those fish I showed you, Marcus explained. Everyone gets what they need. We bring technology and medicine. They teach us about their worlds, their cultures. Everyone benefits. Zixthara had seen the reports from human colonies. She had read them looking for military information, signs of weakness to exploit. But now she remembered details that had seemed unimportant before. Joint research projects, cultural exchange programs, trade agreements that benefited all parties. The council said you would try to conquer us eventually, she said. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Do you really think I could conquer anyone? He asked finally. Zixthara looked at him. This gentle man who spent his days studying moss and feeding injured animals. The idea of Marcus leading an army was almost funny. But then she thought about what he had done to her. He had defeated the galaxy's most feared assassin without firing a shot, simply by refusing to be her enemy. You are more dangerous than they know, she said softly. How so? You make people want to be better than they are. That afternoon, Marcus showed her his communication logs. Messages from other human researchers, from alien scientists who worked with them, from government officials on dozens of different worlds. All of them spoke of humans the same way, as partners, not conquerors. We've made mistakes, Marcus admitted. Some humans have been greedy or violent. But we try to learn from those mistakes. We try to do better. And we try to do better. Zixthara read, message after message, from species she had been taught to see as weak or unimportant. They wrote about human doctors who healed their sick, human engineers who helped build schools and hospitals, human diplomats who settled disputes without bloodshed. This is not what the council told me, she said. What did they tell you? That humans are a plague, that you breed too fast and take too much, that if you are not stopped, you will enslave the galaxy. Marcus nodded sadly. Fear makes people believe things that aren't true. The council is afraid of change. They've ruled the galaxy for so long. They can't imagine any other way. Zixthara felt something crack inside her chest. Her whole life had been built on lies. Everything she thought she knew about humans, about the galaxy, about her own purpose as a hunter. It was all wrong. I was supposed to kill you, she whispered. I know, Marcus said gently. And you saved me anyway. Yes. Why? Marcus was quiet for a moment, watching the small creatures outside his window. Because everyone deserves a chance to choose who they want to be, he said finally. Even people who come to hurt us. That night, as Zixthara prepared to sleep, she realized her wound was completely healed. She was strong enough to leave, to return to her ship and her life as a hunter. But she was no longer the same person who had crawled bleeding to Marcus's door. She had seen what mercy looked like. She had tasted friendship and kindness, and she could never go back to the way things were before. Zixthara left the research station before dawn, slipping away while Marcus slept. She moved through the forest like a ghost, her scales shifting to match the shadows. But her heart was heavy as she walked to her hidden ship. The vessel was small and fast, built for hunting missions. She had spent years saving credits to buy it. Now it felt like a prison. Inside, everything reminded her of her old life. Weapons, tracking equipment, files full of targets to eliminate. She sat in the pilot's chair and stared at the communication panel. She should contact her handlers in the Dominion Council. Should report that Marcus Chen was dead and claim her payment. It would be easy to lie. No one would check too carefully. But every time she reached for the controls, she saw Marcus's face. She remembered his gentle hands, treating her wounds. She heard his voice explaining why every life mattered. Finally, she activated the communicator. The face that appeared on screen was cold and sharp. Director Vas O.K. of the Kethmori Hunter Corps. He was old and scarred, with scales that had turned gray from decades of violence. "Zixthara," he said without greeting. "Report. The human scientist is dead." She lied. The words felt like poison in her mouth. "Good. How did he die?" "Equipment malfunction." His research station exploded. She had seen similar accidents before. They were believable. "This constant 70. Well," Director Vasok nodded slowly. "And the other targets? When will you move against them?" "Other targets." Zixthara's blood went cold. She had forgotten that Marcus was just the first name on a list. The Dominion Council wanted dozens of human scientists dead. "Send me the files," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. The list that appeared on her screen made her stomach twist. 27 names. 27 humans, like Marcus. Working alone on distant worlds, studying alien life, and trying to understand the universe. All of them marked for death, because they made the galaxy's rulers afraid. "These missions are urgent," Director Vasok said. "Human influence grows stronger every day. We must cut off their advantages before they become too powerful to stop." "Understood," Zixthara said. "The Council is pleased with your work," the director continued. "Complete this assignment, and you will be honored as a true defender of galactic order." The communication ended, leaving Zixthara alone with the list of names. She stared at the first entry. Dr. Sarah Kim, studying plant genetics on Proxima Station. Like Marcus, she was young and isolated. Like Marcus, she would be easy to kill. Zixthara closed the file and buried her face in her clawed hands. She could not do this. Could not murder innocent people who had shown her nothing but curiosity and kindness through Marcus's stories. But if she refused, the Council would know something was wrong. They would send other hunters to finish what she started. For 3 days, she sat in her ship and wrestled with the impossible choice. She could betray her entire culture and everything she had been raised to believe, or she could let good people die to protect her own life. On the 4th day, she made her decision. Zixthara started her ship's engines and set course for Marcus's station. But she was not going there to finish her original mission. She was going to warn him. The journey took 6 hours. During the flight, she monitored Dominion Council communications and learned something that made her scales turn pale with fear. Director Vasok had grown suspicious of her delayed reports. He was sending a full strike team to verify Marcus's death. The team would arrive in less than a day. Zixthara pushed her engines beyond safe limits, racing back to the planet she had left behind. The ship shook and complained, but she did not slow down. She had to reach Marcus first. She landed in the same clearing where she had hidden before. But this time, she ran through the forest instead of creeping. When she burst through the station door, Marcus looked up from his work with surprise. "Zixthara? I thought you were gone." "They're coming," she said, fighting to catch her breath. "Tomorrow. Maybe sooner. A Keth Mori strike team. They think I failed to kill you." Marcus went very still. "Did you fail?" "Yes," Zixthara said. "I reported that you were dead, but they don't believe me. They're coming to finish the job." "Why are you telling me this?" Marcus asked quietly. "Why risk yourself to save me?" Zixthara looked at him. This human, who had changed everything she thought she knew about right and wrong. "Because you showed me mercy when I came to kill you. Among my people, that creates a life debt. I owe you my life." "You don't owe me anything," Marcus said. "Maybe not by your customs," Zixthara replied. "But by mine, I do. And besides..." She paused, struggling with unfamiliar emotions. "I think you might be my friend. I will not let friends die if I can help it." Marcus smiled, but it was a sad smile. "Where can we go?" "They'll track me anywhere in human space." "Not anywhere," Zixthara said. "I know places to hide. But first, we must make them believe you are truly dead." Working together, they staged Marcus's death. Zeke's Thara used her knowledge of Keth Mori weapons to damage the station in a believable way. Marcus gathered his most important research and personal items, things small enough to carry. They created evidence of a struggle, signs that the human had fought back before dying. As they worked, Marcus asked, "What about the others? The other scientists? On their list?" "I don't know," Zixthara admitted. "I cannot save them all." "We have to try," Marcus said. "Maybe we can warn them. Maybe we can find another way." "We?" Zixthara looked at him with surprise. "You saved my life," Marcus said. "Now, I want to help you save others." Together, they loaded supplies into Zixthara's ship. As they prepared to leave, Marcus took one last look at his laboratory. 5 years of work would be lost. All his research, his careful observations, his growing understanding of this world's ecosystem. "I'm sorry," Zixthara said. "Because of me, you lose everything." "Not everything," Marcus replied. "I'm alive, and I learned something important." "What?" "That mercy isn't weakness. It's the strongest thing there is." They took off just as the first Keth Mori ships appeared on the horizon. From space, they watched the strike team descend on the empty research station. The hunters would find evidence of Marcus's death and be satisfied with their work. But Zixthara knew this was only the beginning. By helping Marcus escape, she had made herself a traitor to her own people. There would be no going home, no honor among the Keth Mori, no peaceful retirement. She had chosen mercy over duty, friendship over tradition. She had chosen to be something her people had no word for. She had chosen to be good. As they flew away from the planet where everything had changed, Marcus placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "Thank you," he said. Zixthara looked at her reflection in the ship's window. Her scales had shifted to a soft, warm blue, a color that meant hope among her people. "Thank you," she said back, "for showing me who I could choose to be." 6 months after fleeing Kepler 442b, Marcus and Zixthara had become the most wanted fugitives in 3 star systems. They moved from world to world, staying ahead of bounty hunters while working to expose the truth about the Dominion Council's assassination program. Their hidden base was an abandoned mining station in the asteroid belt of a dead system. Marcus had set up a new laboratory in one of the old storage bays, while Zixthara used her hunter skills to keep them hidden and safe. "The communication network is ready," Marcus said, looking up from his computer. They had spent weeks building a secure way to contact scientists across human space without being traced. Zixthara nodded, checking the sensor displays. "No ships in range. We have maybe 6 hours before the next patrol passes through." They had already warned 12 scientists from the Dominion's target list. Some had listened and gone into hiding. Others thought it was a trick and ignored them. 3 had been killed before the warnings could reach them. Each death hit Marcus hard. He blamed himself for not working faster, for not being more convincing. But Zixthara reminded him that every life they saved mattered. "Today we try something bigger," Marcus said, activating the communication array. "It's time to tell the whole galaxy what's happening." They had gathered proof over months of careful investigation. Zixthara's access codes still worked in some Dominion systems. Marcus had traced financial records and communication logs. Together, they had built a file that showed everything: the assassination orders, the payments, the conspiracy to stop human expansion through murder. The transmission went out simultaneously to news networks on 40 different worlds. Human stations, alien broadcasters, independent journalists. Everyone received the same data packet at the same time. Within hours, the story exploded across the galaxy. The evidence was overwhelming. Secret recordings of Dominion Council meetings where they planned the killings. Financial records showing payments to Keth Mori hunters. Orders signed by the Council's most powerful members. On Earth, protesters gathered outside Dominion embassy buildings. Young Keth Mori, on their homeworld, questioned why their greatest hunters were being used as assassins. Species that had remained neutral in galactic politics began taking sides. Look at this, Marcus said, reading reports from across the galaxy. The Altarian Republic is calling for a full investigation. The Centauri Federation is threatening trade sanctions. Zixthara watched the news feeds with amazement. She had never seen anything spread so fast across so many worlds. In my culture, truth is what the strong say it is. But your people, they make truth stronger than power. The Dominion Council tried to control the damage. They claimed the evidence was fake, that humans had created it to justify their expansion. But more proof kept appearing. Other hunters came forward with their own stories. Diplomats leaked private conversations. The lies fell apart under the weight of truth. 3 days after the first broadcast, something unexpected happened. Director Vasoke, the gray-scaled leader of the Keth Mori Hunter Corps, sent them a private message. Zixthara, his image said, from their communication screen. You have brought great shame to our people. But you have also shown great courage. Zixthara stared at her former commander. She had expected anger, threats, promises of revenge, not this strange mix of disappointment and pride. The Council lied to us, Vasoke continued. They told us we were defending galactic order. Instead, we were murdering innocents for their political games. Many of my hunters are asking hard questions now. What will you do? Zixthara asked. What honor demands, he replied. We will withdraw from all Dominion contracts. The Keth Mori will no longer be tools for cowards who hide behind assassins. The message ended, leaving Zixthara staring at the blank screen. Her people were changing. The truth had reached even the proudest warriors of her homeworld. But the Dominion Council was not finished. Without Keth Mori hunters, they hired mercenaries and pirates. When public opinion turned against them, they tried to blame humans for starting the whole conflict. That's when Marcus made the decision that would change everything. We're going to Galactic Central, he told Zixthara. I'm going to speak to the full council assembly. That's suicide, she said. They'll kill you the moment you arrive. Maybe. Marcus agreed. But they'll have to do it in front of representatives from every species in the galaxy. The whole galaxy will see what they really are. Zixthara wanted to argue, but she knew Marcus was right. Only by facing the council directly could they end this war before it destroyed more lives. The journey to Galactic Central took 5 days. When they arrived at the massive space station that served as the galaxy's capital, they were met by ships from dozens of different worlds. Some came to arrest them. Others came to protect them. The station's neutral zones became a battlefield of politics and diplomacy. In the end, it was the younger species that made the difference. Races that had been conquered or controlled by the Dominion for centuries saw this as their chance for freedom. They demanded that Marcus be allowed to speak. The assembly hall was enormous, with seats for representatives from over 200 worlds. As Marcus walked to the speaker's platform, Zixthara stayed close beside him. Her scales had shifted to their brightest blue, the color of absolute determination. 6 months ago, I was a simple scientist, Marcus began, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. I studied plants and animals on a quiet world, trying to understand how different species could help each other survive. He told his story simply and honestly. How Zixthara had come to kill him. How he had chosen mercy instead of fear. How that single act of kindness had revealed a conspiracy that threatened the peace of the galaxy. The Dominion Council told you that humans are dangerous, Marcus said, looking directly at the council members in their elevated seats. They were right. We are dangerous, but not in the way they claimed. He gestured to Zixthara, who stood proud and unafraid despite being surrounded by her enemies. We're dangerous because we believe enemies can become friends. We're dangerous because we think cooperation is stronger than domination. We're dangerous because we show mercy even to those who come to hurt us. The hall erupted in arguments. Some species cheered. Others shouted in anger. The council demanded order. Lost. But their authority was cracking. You want to know what humans really want? Marcus continued when the noise died down. We want to learn from you. We want to share what we know with you. We want to build something better than what came before. He pulled out a data pad and held it up. This contains everything I've learned about symbiotic relationships in alien ecosystems. Discoveries that could help heal damaged worlds, feed hungry populations, create new medicines. I'm giving it freely to any species that wants it. The gesture sent shockwaves through the assembly. Information was power in galactic politics. Species guarded their knowledge jealously, sharing only when they could gain advantage. But Marcus was offering his life's work as a gift. Over the next 6 hours, representative after representative stood to speak. Young species talked about their dreams of freedom from dominion control. Older species defended their traditional ways. But slowly, a new consensus began to emerge. The galaxy was changing. The old rules of domination and fear were failing. A new way was possible. The human way of cooperation and growth. When the final vote was taken, it wasn't even close. The Dominion Council was stripped of its authority to govern interspecies relations. A new governing body was formed, with representatives from all species having equal voices. As they left the assembly hall, Zixthara walked beside Marcus, with her head held high. Around them, delegations from dozens of worlds approached, eager to learn about human cooperation methods. "So what happens now?" she asked. Marcus looked out at the stars visible through the station's vast windows. Somewhere out there, humans and aliens were already working together on new projects, sharing knowledge, building friendships across the darkness. "Now we go back to work," he said. "We've got a galaxy to heal." 6 months later, Marcus and Zixthara stood in the main laboratory of New Harmony Station, the first truly interspecies research facility ever built. Scientists from 20 different worlds worked side by side, studying everything from quantum physics to xenobiology. Zixthara had become the station's head of security, but her job was unlike any Kethmori hunter role before. Instead of stalking prey, she protected knowledge seekers. Instead of bringing death, she helped create life. The Terran moss samples are responding well to the Altarian growth hormones, Marcus reported, checking on his latest experiment. "We might actually be able to heal the damaged forests on Kepler-6? And the Kethmori Youth Exchange Program?" Zixthara asked. 50 young hunters arrived yesterday. They seem excited to learn about non-violent problem-solving. Zixthara smiled, her scales shifting to the warm blue of contentment. Her own people were changing too. The old ways of honor through violence were giving way to honor through service. It would take generations, but the transformation had begun. Looking around the bustling laboratory, she remembered the night she had first crawled bleeding to Marcus's door. She had come as death incarnate, the galaxy's most feared assassin. But mercy had transformed her into something her people had no word for, a protector of life instead of a dealer of death. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked, following her gaze. "Giving up your old life?" Zixthara considered the question. She thought about the honor she had lost among her people, the simple certainties of her warrior training, the respect that came from being feared across the galaxy. Then she looked at the young beings around them. Human and alien scientists, working together, sharing discoveries that would help heal worlds and save lives. She thought about the friendship she had found with Marcus, and the new purpose that filled her days. "Never," she said. "You taught me that mercy isn't weakness. It's the strongest force in the universe." And as the two friends returned to their work, surrounded by the bright chaos of interspecies cooperation, the galaxy continued its slow transformation from a place of fear into a place of hope.